Hi, I'm Ursula. I do 5D quantum healing and I speak light language and I'm a storyteller. This is going to be a very fun year. And yeah, let's see how that all unfolds. Right now, I do have a story to tell you. And this story was given to me whew, January, February, March, somewhere around there last year. And at the time, I thought it was um, a story that was to help a friend of mine. And as it turns out, these stories that I get, these information, sometimes it comes in a story form, sometimes it comes in as ideas to understand certain concepts in spirituality. But the one thing that I have realized is that all of these downloads that I get are for me. They are from my guides in a way to help me grow, help me understand certain things. And I am sharing them. If they resonate with you, that's great. That's fantastic. Take what resonates and just leave the rest behind. I will do a separate video explaining why we do this. But for now, let's jump into the story. Okay, so this is a story about two mountain climbers. They are in the local circuit. They are fantastically, well, they're well known. And over the last while, these two no relation to each other. These two were given the nickname the twins. And the reason they were given the nickname the twins was because they were of a very similar build and their stats started to match quite well. And it became a little bit of a game with the media that was following the climbing circuit. And it was fun to relate these two guys to what they were doing. And it became quite a big thing. Now, let's call the one guy Greg and the other guy Trevor. Greg, at first thought this was quite, this was quite fine. But as time grew on, he started to get very irritated with this twin thing and then became rather competitive towards Trevor. Trevor, on the other hand, it didn't bother him at all, at all. He loved climbing. He loved doing what he was doing. The only competition he ever had was with himself, and he was there to enjoy what he was doing, to have experiences on different mountains, to enjoy the views and the life, the nature growing there and the bird life there. And he just enjoyed stretching his mind, stretching his body, and having these wonderful experiences. It really didn't bother him what the media was saying. It didn't bother him what the competition was. He was enjoying day by day. But Greg, on the other hand, really started to get irritated and then became really competitive, and he had to beat Trevor. Oh, wait, hold on a sec. Let's just, we're having a story. Let's have a story around a campfire. There we go. Okay, that's better. So Greg really became quite upset with this whole thing and started to really watch what Trevor was doing and how Trevor was doing, and became really competitive. And this started to become quite a struggle. And every time he was put up against Trevor, or they ended up doing something, or Trevor did a climb that Greg had initially done. He was, how did he do? How did he do this? What was his stats? And it really became quite a bit of a struggle. Anyway, on this particular weekends apart, Trevor and Greg were invited to this new established, it was a lodge. What had actually happened was this particular property bumped up against a mountain face. And this particular side of this climb was only accessible through this property. Unfortunately, this property had been in an inheritance fight. And for years, nobody could get access to it. It was, it was really quite a nasty fight against the family. Anyway, things began to settle down and a compromise was reached. And as part of the settlement, the property was sold. So the new owners wanted to open it up, create a lovely lodge there. There was a lot of climbers on the circuit that wanted to climb this particular side of the mountain. It was quite a challenge, and nobody had access to it for quite a while. So when opening time came for this lodge, the people who owned it decided that they were going to invite the twins. And what they would do is they would sponsor the twin for a weekend at their place. And during that weekend, they would do the climb. There would be a whole lot of media. There was cameras put all up in strategic places so that they could capture all of this. And they were going to do it over 2 weekends so that the guys weren't climbing together. One would go the first weekend and another would go the next weekend. So they drew the names up of these two. Trust me, I'm getting to a point here. This is a really interesting story, and it's something that you can bring into your life because it makes a difference. It really, really makes a difference. So hang in there with me. This is a lekker story. Lekker is what we call it here in South Africa. It's a wonderful story. Okay, so as it turned out, Greg was going to go the first weekend and Trevor the next weekend. So Greg gets there, has a wonderful time logging in, and there was lovely shots of the property. And anyway, so Saturday comes and it's his climbing time, and they have all the cameras. They do a little bit of a media stunt, and Greg sets off. And it isn't long before the first sort of stumbling block of this particular climb happens. And it's a bit of a jutting out rock, but it's a struggle, but it's a challenge. This is definitely a challenge. But Greg saw everything as a struggle. He labeled everything as a struggle. So the second he got to the first obstacle that he had to overcome, his brain had already kicked in and he was already looking at these whole things as a struggle, and his muscles were stretching and hurting, and it was just a struggle. It just labeled as a struggle. Anyway, he pushed and pulled and, fell a few times and got past this particular challenge. But really his whole mindset was sitting on the struggle. He had to keep pushing and keep making his body do the things that he needed to do to get to the top. By and by, he did get to the top. When he got there, he was so exhausted, he just literally laid down. And the way they had done this, they had a nice sort of rest stop at the top for him. But he was finished. He had struggled and struggled all the way up to the top. He hadn't seen anything. He was just, working with his muscles. And, but he had did it and he had did it in quite good timing, actually. But he was finished. He was just finished. Anyway, they had the whole relaxation area set up for him. They really had done these guys good. Anyway, he gets down, he enjoys the rest of his Saturday and Sunday there at the lodge, and talks about how nice the lodge is. But the whole story of him and his climb was all about the struggle, the struggle, the struggle. Anyway, the following weekend was Trevor's turn. And again, lovely setup. And it was quite a nice time of the year. The weather was really good, and they had planned it nicely. So there wasn't much rain or much difference between the two weekends with their weather, which again added to the story. The twins, this is how things work for them. They tend to end up with the same sort of thing, and this is what the media was playing. Anyway, Trevor starts. But Trevor's outlook on life was challenge. Everything was a challenge for him. And as soon as he got to that first stepping block, it was, okay, fine. How do I approach this challenge? Where am I going to go? How am I going to get there? And it was just that much easier. His body responded better. And he managed to get through the challenge without falling or hurting himself or even stretching his body that much. And he carried on. He got to another section of the mountain, which was also quite a bit of a struggle. But when he managed to get past this and got to the ledge, he sat there for a minute or hung there for a minute. What I know about climbing is rather dangerous, but bear with me. This story is going somewhere. Anyway, so he's hanging there, and he looks over and he notices this tree that's sitting in this tiny bit of soil and is pushing out and is stretching out towards the sun in this tiny little bit of soil that has it anchored. And he marvels at how nature is, and he carries on climbing. And then later on, he sees bird nests, and again wondering and marveling at how nature is. And yes, this whole climb is a struggle, and his body is stretching, and his mind is being stretched. And anyway, by and by, he gets to the top of the mountain. When he gets to the top, he is so excited. He is so thrilled that he has overcome this challenge, that he's jumping for joy. He's running around the top. He's checking out the nature. He's looking at the views from the top here. He's chatting to the people at the top there that are waiting for him, and he's, where they've got his tent to relax and spruce up and drink water and have something to eat and that kind of thing. He's just loving it. Anyway, by and by, he does get down and enjoys the rest of the weekend. When it came to the stats, again, not too much in difference. However, Trevor did come first, which just pissed Greg off second to none. Now, why am I telling you this story? Why am I putting this like this? And the thing is, when you look at life on the 5D, when you move into the 5D, you start to notice that things attract to you very quickly. And your mindset is important. If you're sitting there and seeing things as a struggle, that's what you're going to experience. If you're seeing things as a challenge, that's what you're going to experience. Now, what's happened is, and trust, I'm not saying throw the baby out with the bathwater. What I am saying to you is that in a 3D, for us to awaken, to get past, to actually waken up to our reality, we do need to go through a struggle. And that struggle for a lot of us who have awoken and gone through a bit of a, night of the dark soul phase, it was a struggle. It really was a struggle. And we learned some value things, value points, value about ourselves, value about life, and it awoken us. So I'm not saying throw the baby out with the bathwater. Those were important. What I'm saying now is we are moving into a different place. And if you're sitting there and valuing your transitions in struggle mode, if you're sitting there and telling yourself that you can only have value in these with a struggle, then that's all you're going to have. Okay? You still, if you sit there and have a mindset of challenge, you're still going to stretch yourself. You're still going to stretch your mind. You're still going to stretch your body. You're still going to stretch your emotions, but you're not going to struggle. And if you sit there and you are able to feel in energy, have a look at the word struggle and what does that feel for you? Look at the word challenge and see what that feels for you. So I'm not saying that, yes, we're now going to sit on a nice little, fluffy cushion and float through life and everything's great. No, we still have challenges. We still have things that we need to learn and to grow and expand on and expand within us. But it doesn't have to be a struggle. Now, I'm not here to sit there and tell you how to run your life. I'm really not. And if you sit there and choose to run with the struggle, well, then by all means enjoy it. Have fun. You've created that for yourself. If you're sitting there and want to be in a life where you can grow and expand and you can learn and really enjoy the experience, then start to see things as a challenge. Because I can promise you, look at things when you've gone through struggle. Your focus has been on the struggle. Your focus has been on the drama. And this is why this particular message came to me, was because at this particular junction in my life, I was going through a hell of a lot. And a friend of mine was also going through the hell of a lot. But she valued struggle. She really valued struggle. And this is why I thought this message had come to me from my guides for her. Turns out, no, it was for me. And at the time, well, it was a couple of months before that, we were sitting and looking at our year ahead. And she said to me, yes, my guides had said the next year is going to be a struggle. And I said to her, no, only if you choose it to be. And I tell you, I had this long conversation and I explained why I was saying what I was saying. And I tell you, she went absolutely quiet, absolutely dead quiet. After the phone call, couldn't have been more than 10 minutes. She sent me a photo and said, see, I'm right. Meaning she was right. And this photo was of the butterfly in its stages, a caterpillar, its chrysalis and its, its wings out of the chrysalis. And yes, for a lot of us in our 3D, if you go and look at the motivational speakers, they all talk about the struggle, the struggle, the struggle. You know, I want to say like 99% of them have all gone through near-death experiences and, this whole struggle and how this is whole, and added value and added value and added value. I'm telling you, life still has value. And the things that you go through, the challenges that you go through that expand you still have value. It doesn't have to be through struggle. And I don't know if any of you have connected because I'm talking to a collective of 5D mindset people here. So I don't know if you have tried to connect energetically to a butterfly going through the chrysalis. Now, I haven't had an actual physical butterfly with me, but I did connect to that whole thing because I know nature. I have a lovely connection with nature. And I know that nature doesn't see struggle. It doesn't. It has challenges and it has many beautiful things. But on this particular subject, it sees things as challenges, as flows, as points to get to. It doesn't focus on struggle. And I connected energetically to what is happening during that process of when a butterfly is coming out and how its energetic feel is. And I can tell you now, it doesn't struggle. It sees it as a challenge. It sees it as a passage of life, but it doesn't see it as a struggle. So I'm saying to you, look at things in your life. Be mindful of what you're choosing for yourself. Be mindful of what you want to experience because you are creating it. And if you value struggle as a process in life, if you value struggle as a naughty badge to get somewhere, then that's what you're going to experience. If you change it to challenge, you're still going to experience the challenge, but during the challenge, you will have more of a mind opening. You'll have more of space to actually see what's around you, to see what's going on around you, to feel what's going on around you, than to be stuck in drama and struggle. Have a look, check it out. If it works for you, great. If this doesn't resonate, well, then that's also great. I do want to point out that when you're sitting there and you've decided that you're going to go through the challenge side of life, okay, and not the struggle side of life, and you're sitting there and watching your favorite little podcaster, and he's got some fantastic guru who's done books, who's done all kinds of things and has had a marvelous life, and they sitting and they're having a little joke about how humanity doesn't seem to learn unless going through a struggle. Be mindful, okay? Don't sit there and laugh and giggle with it because what you're doing and what you're telling your mind is you agree with that, okay? You've just put into your system that you value struggle as a means of growth. So be mindful. Be mindful about these little jokes that go around that have, it's a joke, but it has an underlining sense of truth. Because when you sit there and you laugh with it and you attach with it, and yes, we all know it's a little bit of a joke, what you're actually telling yourself is that you agree with it. Okay. What you're actually telling yourself is that that sentiment is how things work. And trust me, it'll come slapping you in the face. Anyway, I hope that this helps you. Like I said, it's a lesson, it's a story from my guides for me. If it resonates with you and helps you, that's awesome. Doesn't, that's awesome too. Leave it. Loves you guys. Chat soon.